Hi there. In a world where nothing is certain, that means anything is possible, right? If you want to fulfill your dreams and desires, you are in the right place. You absolutely can have a life of happiness. Everyone deserves an abundance of love, laughter, success, health, and wealth. I'm Tara Chadzakis, and you're listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. The show that brings you meditation, mindset, and motivation. So start by giving yourself permission to be awesome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to this episode of Happy, Inspired, Motivated. Today I'm joined by Kami Guildner, who lives in the States, and Kami is a business coach for changemakers who are women of influence. The interview with Kami was amazing. We connected on so many levels, and we talked a lot about law of attraction and universal vibrational energy, and it was really great to speak to somebody who connects so well with soulful businesses and is really mindful about the business strategies that she uses to help her clients up-level in their business. Talking with Kami, it was really evident how she can help people unleash their magical manifestation powers and really live a loud, fueled life with vitality and courage. And that really comes across when you speak to Kami. During the interview, Kami mentioned her Facebook group, which is called Extraordinary Women Connect. And it's one of those places where people support each other and really come together to work towards creating a better world with more impact and helping people really step up into their power. So I'd like to introduce you to Kami on this week's podcast. So, hi, Kami, and welcome to Happy, Inspired, Motivated. How are you doing today?
I am doing really well. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on your show.
I'm so blessed you joined us. Thank you very much. So, Kami, just introduce yourself to my audience. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. I'm a connector, I'm a storyteller, and I am a business coach for women, helping them raise up their voice and their visibility and really take their business to that next level. I work with a lot of influencer women who have big, important messages to put out into the world and an impact to make with their work. And that's how that's what makes my world go round.
That's perfect. How did you get involved in this extraordinary work?
Oh my gosh. It's been a journey, of course, right? I mean, it's like always a journey to get to where we're at.
Yeah, definitely.
I was in the corporate world for 20 plus years
Mm-hmm.
and led a marketing organization which within a multinational company. And so was able to, be in all aspects of marketing and strategy and branding and, all of those good things. And I left the corporate world in 2008,
Okay.
which I always say my first blessing was I got laid off. My second blessing was it was 2008 when there wasn't a lot of other VP of marketing jobs out there. And so I took time. I mean, it's literally, I had to just slow down from my crazy life that I was
Yeah.
living and start to just reconnect to me and find me again. And when I did that, I got guided into the world of coaching. And it took a couple of different evolutions. Initially, I was working with a lot of women who were hearing a calling, executive women who were hearing a calling for something more, kind of in that space that I had been in.
Yeah.
And then what happened, all those women started to really just leave their corporate jobs behind and start their own thing, really wanting to make an impact on the world, where they could make a bigger impact than what they had been
Yeah.
doing in the corporate world. And so my business really evolved from that point to be focused on, helping women grow their businesses and get their voices out into the world. And so all of that, those threads in my corporate work got brought forward,
Mm.
which was great. And there was like this whole new soulful spiritual side of me that I never even knew existed that got birthed in the midst of all of
Oh,
that.
I love that. That
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah, and that's really what my work is today. Is it's it's marketing on spirituality. So, it's business on spirituality. I think being an entrepreneur is such a spiritual journey,
It is,
and
yeah.
yeah, and so that's the journey that I've taken.
That's amazing. So the clients that you have, when you say like you work on the spiritual and soulful aspects,
Hmm, hmm.
are there businesses involved in that, or is it working with them to make sure that they're aligned in alignment with their business?
It's aligned to what they're doing in their business. Now, some of them definitely are have a spiritual bent to their business,
Yeah.
and others are. I mean, I have several women in tech, who are helping raise up women's voices in technology, and so, but their journey back to themselves has been a very big spiritual journey as
That's
the
great.
entrepreneur.
That's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
really it's just to reconnect with yourself, and especially as a woman, to be able to find your voice at the same time is really
Yeah.
powerful. That's
Well,
amazing.
and Tara, I think the thing that's really important to me is right now I believe that women's wisdom is the medicine our earth needs. And I
Absolutely.
believe that we're being called to lead differently, to show up differently, to be different, just be
Yeah.
ourselves versus trying to, fit into molds of something.
Mm,
And I think that the shift that, we've come through a difficult last couple years.
mm.
And I think there's a shift on the other side of this with women in leadership really stepping up to
It's exciting.
exactly. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it is.
It's here to change things. I think, and those of us who have stepped into this kind of work, we're being called to help people do things in a
Yeah,
different way.
definitely. That just gives me shivers to think of the shift that's coming. You can feel the shift anyway. That's changed so much in the past 18 months. And just thinking of that going forward and
Right.
expanding, and oh my goodness, that's really exciting times.
And I love that you use the word expanding because that's what I feel with that. I feel
Yeah.
such huge expansion. I mean, so here we are. It's the I woke up this morning really early to the eclipse, the moon eclipse. So there's a
Okay.
lunar eclipse going on here, and as I when I woke up, it was like 4:13 a.m. You know, I why I woke up at that moment, and it was supposed to start. I mean, it was not supposed to start, but it would like kind of be at the peak of it about 4:20 a.m. And so I jumped up and threw my robe on and went outside, and I had to like go up on this little hill to fully see it because I live with mountains around me,
Okay.
and so special. And it's like that expansiveness that
Mm.
I'm feeling it particularly today, I think because of this, because of the lunar eclipse, because of the full moon. Um, if we can play with those kinds of energies as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, I think
Yeah.
we really step into um, the universe is supporting us in our journeys.
I love that. I'm just so on the same page. Yeah, definitely. So looking at some of the things that you or how you help women.
Mhm.
So can you give me some tips for leveraging the power of storytelling when you're trying to build an engaged community?
Yeah, I think stories are, they're really a window into our soul, right?
Yeah.
And when we can share stories, people start to connect with us. They start to relate to us on it's like, oh my gosh, she's gone through the same things that I've gone through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the piece, and it's memorable, right? I mean, people will remember our stories long after, everything else that we've ever said. Our people are going to remember our stories.
Yeah.
And so anytime that we can bring our stories into our work, I think this is the way that we start to really build what I call a know, love, and trust community, right? They
Mhm.
totally fall in love with you.
Yeah.
And so that means being vulnerable. It means sharing some of those stories that you think, oh my gosh, I don't know if I really want to tell that story. It might be the right story for you to share, just to let down some of the walls, because nobody wants to listen to somebody who's got everything all figured out, because none of us do. So
No, no, we don't.
if we can share just a small bit of ourselves that is that's, this core from us, our stories. That's how
Mm.
people can really connect with us on a deeper level. And, stories will connect community as well. So when you talk about how do communities really connect, if you can get communities, the members in your community sharing stories with one another, it will start to create longer relationships. It will
Mhm.
build, more connections within your community. So not only our own stories, but helping others share their stories can really create a stronger community.
Yeah. And like you're working with women's with helping to get women's voices heard,
Hmm.
that's also a big part of it because, coming from the corporate world, you're supposed to be this certain
Totally.
image and you're supposed to have all
Right.
your stuff together and you're not allowed really to step out and say, well, this happened to me. I've had this experience and it
Yeah.
shaped me in this way. But
And
being
I
able
hope
to
that
share that.
changes. I
Yeah,
hope that
yeah.
changes. I hope that women that are staying in the corporate world start to lead in new ways within organizations, because it will make the organizations more real. It will make the organizations more connected.
Mm,
And I mean, that's our gift, right? As women,
yeah.
to be able to to show up as us, as women, in all our strengths and our intuition and our wisdom. And so I really hope that my friends that are staying in the corporate world and not making the leap into entrepreneur space take those bolder. And it is bold. It is, we were taught to be so buttoned up, and
Yeah.
I think that it's exciting. I think this is part of that shift.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you say, people expect a certain
Yeah.
image of us, and but if I mean, I know this sounds like a bit of a bold statement, but if women were in power, things would be so much different because we have a
Right.
different way of approaching things, and we are more approachable, and we have a side that can bring out the best in people, which is really
Totally.
important in business.
Oh, so true. And I love that you make that bold statement, because I think it's a great vision
Mm,
where we can see how things can be led in a different way. I mean, look at New Zealand, led by a female president, right?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's things like that that if we can watch that and we can learn, I think that there's it's exciting.
Do you think that so when people are trying to shift into entrepreneurship, do
Hmm.
you think that that vulnerability is something that kind of holds them back sometimes because they don't want to or they're frightened of being seen for
Hmm.
themselves,
Oh,
and
totally.
when they're safe in their corporate world, they have this facade that keeps them safe and they keeps all their secrets inside. But when you're an entrepreneur, you have to step out of that and you have to bear a little bit more, and it can be quite scary, can't it?
Oh, totally. And I can think, I mean, even, when I go back to my corporate days, I was very good behind the scenes. I was leading thought leadership programs, and I was putting other people on stages, on television interviews, and that sort of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I was really good at being behind the stage, and I would coach people how to get on stages and be great speakers in the corporate world.
Yeah.
And then, fast forward to me being an entrepreneur, and I was like, oh, I don't want to be on a stage. I don't want to, and I really had to move through all the fear that was there and learn to grow and trust that I was being called to do something different. And I was being called to show up and break through those fears, because if I would have, not broke through those fears, I just would have kept playing small.
Mm.
And there was a clear calling to me, a clear knowing inside of me
Yeah.
that said, this, you're meant to step up in a bigger way. So do that and listen to it and set those big goals,
Mm.
and know that every time you set that big goal, and my big goal that I set several years ago was to impact 1 million women around the world. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to do that one person at a time.
Mm.
That means I need to step into bigger spaces, right?
Yeah.
Bigger stages, bigger platforms. And every time I did that, just one step at a time, it it stretched me. And I was like, oh, I lived through that.
I survived.
And then you just keep doing that one step at a time. And that's where the expansiveness comes with that.
Yeah. I suppose as well, when we're younger, we get told, don't we, little girls should be seen and not heard.
Oh, right.
And that's a big one that we carry with us.
Mm-hmm.
It gets ingrained and we believe it. So it's
Right.
quite hard to show up sometimes and say, hey, this is me. This is what I
Mm-hmm.
have to offer. And this is exactly who I am.
Yeah. And
It's,
one of the things that really helped me with that was it wasn't about me, right? It was about the women in the room.
yes,
And when
exactly.
I realized, like, oh my God. And I started thinking about, well, what will happen if this person and this person goes and does and acts on what they're meant to do?
Yeah.
And, so the actions that they would take from that moment, that changed everything for me.
Mm,
And storytelling also changed everything for me because at the end of the day, I knew my stories. And so just going into a storyteller mode could
mm,
really, just make me feel very natural
yeah.
and in my own body.
Yeah, I feel the same. So, if I feel scared, I think, well, if I don't step up, who am I not impacting that needs to hear a message that I
Exactly.
have? Yeah,
Exactly. One of my coaches once said something like that to me. It was like, right now there's people waiting to find you.
exactly. And just
I'm
don't be so
like,
selfish. Step up.
I'm like, oh, well, that changes the story for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say about impacting a million people or a
Hmm.
million women, impacting even one at a time, you're impacting her family, her friends, because
Exactly.
the change in her is going to make a huge difference. So it's not just working with people, is it? It's the people that are surrounding them that get the benefits as well.
So true. And that's always been part of that vision. It's the ripple effect of what happens when that one person
Yeah.
goes and does the work they're meant to do and serves and shows up in their brightest light and their purpose and how they're meant to make a difference in the world. And they start serving their community. They
Yeah.
start, showing up differently in their family, as you mentioned. I mean, it's just so powerful.
Yeah. So it's building your business around your clients' aspirations
Yeah,
and goals. It's building your business around them, so it's there at the center of it. It's not about you, is it? It's about
it's
the
so
people that
terrific.
you're working with. Yeah.
And when I look across I have a mastermind community, and it's like I can look at every single one of those women, and I just love them. I love what they're putting out into the world. I'm running this series on my my Facebook group, Extraordinary Women Connect, called Own Your Genius, and I'm featuring three of my clients at a time,
Yeah.
and I'm interviewing them on the gifts that they're putting out into the world. What is the genius that they're putting out into the world,
Yeah.
and how are they making an impact? And I love this series. I did it last year, right when the
Yeah.
pandemic started, because I'm like, okay, we got to do something that's going to lighten people up
Yes.
and inspire them. So we did it last year, and it was so much fun to just be
Yeah.
sharing what they're doing and helping them, go do more of it. And so we're doing it again right now. I think we just did our third interview yesterday, and then we've got another one tomorrow. So and we've got two more next week. So it's it's
Yeah.
um, it's really a fun way to help.
And it also helps them, doesn't it? Because like we were just saying then, even though you're feeling scared, if you think about people that you're impacting, and sometimes when you're in the middle of running your business, you
Hmm.
don't realize the impact that you're having until somebody actually sits down with you and speaks to you about it. So
Yeah.
being interviewed around it, you can see the impact that you're having, even though you might have been bogged down with everything else.
Right.
You get more
Right.
clarity, don't you,
Yeah,
about
and
the impact that you're having.
it gives them practice of just being visible in it, right? I mean, that's the other part of it, and they're all doing just amazing. So you know, I love it.
So you talk about growing business through communities and podcasting and things like that. So
Mhm.
what kind of advice would you give somebody who wants to grow their business, for example, with podcasting, which kind of is a community as well? So
Totally. I'm a huge fan of podcasting. I think it's the place to be. It's I think about I've gotten in front of hundreds of thousands of people because of podcasting from my own show and from being on other people's shows. And
yeah.
I just can't think of any other platform that that gives us that capability, to be able to reach that many people.
Yeah.
And so I think it's super exciting to see how this is evolving and changing. And um, you know, podcasting is just, I mean, it's like if you look at the stats behind how many people are watching or listening to podcasts now, it's that number just keeps going. So
Yeah.
it's really, I think that's so definitely an area that I think that people, if they're wanting to grow their business, to get on podcasts is a really good place.
Yeah.
um it's whenever you have clarity around your voice and what it is you're putting out into the world, is, you've got to have that clarity first.
Hmm.
And then when you start getting visible, you can be on stages, you can, be on podcasts, you can do, I mean, we've got social media is so incredibly powerful, how we can reach people today
Yeah.
that, we didn't have 15 years ago.
No,
And
exactly.
so we have this ability to really reach across the globe and be connected with others. And so to me, when I think about growing our business, it really starts with getting visible and getting out and serving your communities in a
Hmm.
way that you're helping your ideal clients do the work that they're meant to do.
Yeah, I just did I've just recorded a training for a speakers index, a speakers group
Hmm.
about
Uh-huh.
podcasting.
Hmm.
And one of the stats that came up for that, there was 160 million people listen to podcasts every month.
Wow.
Exactly. And that we're just at the beginning of the growth stage at the moment. It's still
Hmm.
really early days. There are about 750,000 podcasts out there compared to something crazy like 35 million YouTubers. So there aren't that many podcasts around, but people love them and they consume like 8, 10 episodes a week. They use it when they go to when they're commuting to work and they're walking their dog. So people are consuming information all the time, and they're searching for new podcasts because there's only so many episodes of each one that you can listen to.
Right.
So there's always a brand new market out there, and it's a great way to, like you say, get in front of people that you wouldn't normally have reached.
Yes. Yes. And it's, I think about this last year when we went on to lockdown, it was like all my speaking gigs kind of went virtual or went
Yeah,
away,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And frankly, I was very set up to podcast on a lot of people's shows last year. I had hired somebody who was pitching me onto shows, and it was perfect timing. I'd hired them in January. So I always think that there was this divine say, because I was actually considering whether to invest in somebody putting me on more stages or on more podcasts. And I chose more podcasts,
Hmm.
despite the fact that I'd been on a lot of stages the year before.
Yeah,
And best decision I made all year last year was that, right?
yeah,
And but having done that, and I look forward now, and I look forward and strategically where I want to put my time and my, my investments and that sort of thing.
mhm.
I am gonna. It's definitely towards podcasts because I don't have to go anywhere. I can do this right
I
here.
know, right? That's the great thing, really. You could just get out of the shower and you jump on a podcast. It's not.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
so much more efficient than,
Mm,
traveling to a city to speak on a stage, to speak to a smaller number of people than you probably are speaking to on a podcast.
definitely, yeah.
And so to me, it's like, this is an important part of my business strategy, and I am teaching this to be an important part of my client's strategy. In fact, I've got an online class that I'm taking them through right now, that is really becoming a prosperous podcast guest,
Mm.
because I see it as an important part of our marketing strategy.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, that it's the only way, it's the only platform that you can reach so many people because there are plenty of people out there that would love information,
Hmm.
but maybe they can't afford to go to an event or they can't go to that event because of where it is, its location, it's too far away or a different country. But on
Hmm.
a podcast, they can tune in and, like we're in different countries
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter. We can connect and we can together reach those people. And they don't have
Yeah.
to do anything either. They can listen to it in the shower if they want to. It's
Yeah.
it's it's really time and efficient as well, isn't it?
And there's something that I think that you just tagged for me that makes me really excited about it as well, is that when I was in the, when I was in the corporate world, I was in a very multicultural an international group of people always. I mean, that was just
Yeah.
who I worked with. And I think in this last year, my community has grown much more global than it was. I had pockets of people prior to the last couple years of podcasting,
Hmm.
but it really became a much more global community for me. And when I look at like my Facebook community, it's definitely become much more global. And that excites me.
Yeah.
When I went to college, I had an international marketing degree, an international business degree and marketing. So
Hmm.
it was two sides of it. And it was because I love the diversity of culture, of being with other people from different countries, different parts of the world. And podcasting gives us that, so that's
Yeah.
super cool.
I must admit, I do love being involved with people from different countries.
Yeah.
I just the like you say, the diversity is just it's amazing, and it gets me so excited when when I'm speaking to people from different countries as well, because it's we have things in common, we have things that are different, but it's so great to learn different insights and
Mhm.
different ideas and the way that people do different things, and it gets me excited energetically as well as just as a person. So it's really
Absolutely.
great.
Absolutely.
So energetic vibration is something that yes, we both really love.
Totally.
Who wouldn't love energetic vibration?
Right, right.
So how do you work that into your into your training with your clients? How do you help them raise their energetic vibration in their business?
Well, there's a couple different ways. So, I mean, and I always say that, we can have all the right packaging and pricing and branding and marketing and outreach all in place. And if we're not vibrating on a high level, we're
Yeah.
probably not growing our businesses. So, and this was something I learned personally, right? I mean, I was like, why isn't this working? And then I realized I had all these stories in my head that were telling me something that was pulling down my vibrations. And, so I had to really learn this personally. And when I learned it, it was like, oh my God, it was like, it's like I finally connected all these dots. It's like, this is so important.
Yeah.
And so I talk about R factor to my clients, and this is how we resonate. And so R factor has four core elements to it.
Okay.
The first one is mindset. And it's, in our mind, we have stories that, we have the positive stories that uplift us, that raise our vibration.
Yeah.
And we have the stories that are like pulling us down. It's like, who are you to,
Did you think you are?
exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
there's all those sorts of things. What if you fail? What if da 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 da? All those kind of stories pull our vibration down. So one is really taking care of our mind, making sure that we're making space on a daily basis to notice, to pause, notice what's going on there. And if we're hearing the same story over and over again, really get clear about how do we make choosing to shift that.
Yeah.
Say, oops, I'm calling you out for what you are. You're my inner critic. You're Cruella. Hush up, Cruella. I'm going to turn you off, and I'm really going to shift this conversation going on in my head. So there's the choices that we have going on in our mindset.
Yeah.
The second part of that is our body, and our bodies are filled with information if we just only tune in and listen.
Mhm.
Our bodies will tell us when things feel off, and the ways that we take care of our body on a day-to-day basis. What it's the nutrition we're giving ourselves, it's how we're moving our bodies, and it's even our energetic body. It's like, I mean, I love Reiki. I love work that helps keep us clear and
Yeah.
clean, energetically. So our body is the second part of our factor. The third part of our factor is spirit, and it's spirit however you spirit, because everybody's spirit's differently.
Mhm.
And so, but it's really about tapping into that purpose, why we're here, and being clear with that, and being in alignment with that, and spirit, in whatever ways that you spirit. I mean, I often spirit out in nature. I spirit out in the barn with my horses. All those sorts of things give me this beautiful line of connectedness for myself.
Yeah.
And then the fourth part of our factor, and all of these are a daily thing, right? It's like doing these things every day.
Yeah.
Fourth part of it is being community that uplifts you, because that's going to be, so choosing which people you're with that helps you feel expansive. And so if you're taking care of all those four pieces on a day-to-day basis, your R factor is going to raise up, right? You're going to raise your
Yeah.
R factor, how you resonate on a high vibration mode.
Hmm.
And so that's the way that I work with my clients in that space. And this it's something that I weave into my mastermind program every month. I'm weaving something in that has R factor, because it's not like something you can just learn 1 month and then move on and forget about it.
No.
You've got to
Yeah.
keep coming back to it.
Your vibrational energy, it raises up and lowers down constantly, depending on what you're
Right.
thinking about, what you're doing, how you're
Exactly.
feeling. So it is actually a conscious choice to keep it high. It's not
Yeah.
something that comes naturally, because the brain's thinking, the
Yeah.
brain's trying to protect you all the time, isn't it? So it's trying to keep you
Totally.
safe, and that lowers your vibrational energy. But like you say, the community is really important, because even if you're not feeling it, maybe, and you're struggling one day, there
Hmm.
are other women around you who lift you up as well, and you feel good in their company. So even if you're not thinking about your business or whatever, you still feel good. Like if you meet up with your
Exactly.
friends and you have a laugh, you have fun, that automatically raises your vibrational energy. And that's so important, just to try and live in that high vibration more often than not.
Exactly. And it becomes a practice of checking in with yourself,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I do my morning rituals. It's that time to check in with myself. How does my body feel today? What's going on in my mind today at this moment? And so really learning to check in, because I think, it's not to say that I don't fall into, like, like a fearful moment or a
Yeah, of
a,
course.
a
Yeah.
stressed moment or
Yeah.
something like that. We come into it, but what I'm able to do now is notice it more quickly and work on shifting that.
Yeah.
Choose to shift that
Hmm.
and do it much more quickly than I used to. Like when I first started my business, I might stay in that space for days.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Exactly. Yeah.
so if you can change that and shift it more quickly, I think that's the power.
Perfect. I love that. Well, I really, really appreciate your time that you've spent with us today. It's been absolutely amazing. And I love the vibrational energy that we've got resonating here.
Totally.
Like, yeah,
I feel
it's a
it.
great connection, and I feel really good. So
Yes.
how can my listeners find out more about you after listening to this show, Kami?
The best place to reach out to me is on my Facebook group, which is Extraordinary Women Connect,
Okay.
and that is a place where we're connecting great women to great women. It's we're all about lifting each other's voices and visibility, and putting
Perfect.
that out into the world. So making a big ripple effect from that group, and I love that community. My website is kamiguildner.com, and then my podcast is Extraordinary Women Radio.
Perfect. So I'll put the links to that in the show notes as well. Anyway, is the Facebook group is it a free Facebook group, or is it for clients only?
No, it's a free, it's a community Facebook group, and it's
Perfect.
growing really rapidly right now. So it's really fun. We put a lot of love into the group.
Good. I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I
Oh,
hope
you
to
too,
speak to
Tara.
you again soon.
Absolutely. So nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. I'll be back next week bringing more meditation, mindset, and motivation for your happy and successful life. To find out more about our community, go to tarachatzakis.com/happy, inspired, motivated.